Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday, everybody. The morning after, the night that was. Yes, the Montreal Canadiens pick up their 10th win in their last 13 games, improving to 10-1-2. They go to Utah to start a little mini two-game road trip before they come back home to face the Leafs and the Rangers Saturday and Sunday night, live on TSN 690. What a wild couple of days spent in Utah for the Montreal Canadiens, taking on that hockey club team. As we found out yesterday in the early afternoon that Canadiens forward Emil Heineman had been hit by a slow-moving vehicle while attempting to cross the street a few blocks away from the Montreal Canadiens team hotel. Yes, Emil Heineman hit by a car in Utah. And as I was looking at the Google Maps of the intersection where Emil Heineman got hit, I found a 2021 study done by the Utah Highway Safety Commission that suggested that Utah was voted the most unsafe place to drive a car with the least experienced people behind the wheel of a motor vehicle in the continental United States of America. So it looks like in the here and now, in the last 40 years, it looks like citizens of Utah, of Provo, of Salt Lake City have not upped their driver game. And poor Emil Heineman, I'm not sure what was going on there. I don't know if he had AirPods in or whatever else. But yeah, thank goodness, by the way, that Emil Heineman was able to pick himself up because, as we found out later yesterday, after Emil Heineman got hit by that slow-moving vehicle, he left the scene. So did the person that was the witness, the passerby, the pedestrian. Nobody was there. Emil Heineman, I presume, walked back to the hotel because the accident took place 2 blocks from where the Canadiens were staying. Michael Pezzetta and a few of the boys are playing cards. Emil Heineman hits the guys up, hits his teammates up in the group chat to let them know, saying, "Boys, I got a funny story for you. I just got hit by a car." So Emil Heineman comes back to the hotel, meets the Montreal Canadiens. They kind of sort it out. He's meeting with team doctors. The police investigation takes them to the hotel where they finally get in touch with the Montreal Canadiens and say, yes, our guy was hit by a car. Team doctors are taking a look at it. Nothing serious. As serious as it could be. I mean, the guy got hit by a car. And he's out 3 to 4 weeks. That's what the Montreal Canadiens are saying. So that's how the Utah road trip started. He got hit on Monday, January 13th at 2:55 in the afternoon. So they were there for a couple of days, which, by the way, I liked. It led me down a very confident path that the Montreal Canadiens were going to pick up a road win in Utah to start this little trip. They're in Dallas tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. You can watch it on TSN 690. But yeah, in case you missed it, because it was just after 9 p.m. puck drop, the Montreal Canadiens took 4 penalties in the opening 20 minutes, trailed 2-1 after 20, and recovered to outscore the Utah Hockey Club 4-1 in the final 2 periods of play. And Utah, to the Canadiens' credit, Utah got put behind the 8 ball, so to speak. They took, 5 penalties in that second period. Montreal was able to score a couple of times, and the ball was rolling, as I said, outscoring Utah 4-1 in the final 40 minutes of play. So we have a lot to get to, including a very quick update on the Montreal Canadiens standing. So while I have your attention right here and right now, let's get to it. Last night was game number 43 of the Montreal Canadiens season, and they picked up win number 21 of the year, and that gives them 46 points. They also have 15 regulation wins, which I really like. That's a nice number. And the goal differential continues to get better and better and better. Remember, in the first 6-7 weeks of the season, Montreal had the league worst goal differential. After last night's 5-3 win in Utah, the Canadiens now sit at minus 12 goals for versus goals against. It doesn't change the fact, though, that Montreal has 46 points and well within reach of the top 2 wild cards, and Tampa Bay with 49 points, having the 3rd seed in the Atlantic Division, as Montreal picked up their 10th win in their last 13 games, moving to 10-1-2. And there's a lot of positive outcomes from last night's result, including Kirby Dach scoring twice as the Montreal Canadiens went to Utah and pick up a win. Mike Matheson, Cole Caufield, each had a goal and an assist. And there are a couple things there as it relates to 2 defensemen. Before I get to your comments, I'm going to get to your comments in a second, because I do believe they are starting to filter in, and I'm going to get to them in just a second. But as we know right now, when we look at the way the Canadiens are moving, the veteran presence here is very encouraging in the early blushes. It's very encouraging to see what the Canadiens have been doing with veteran presence, and full disclosure, it makes me a little unsure about what the next moves are going to be. I love David Savard in the first period, looking at the bench and calling guys out. And that's how I interpret that. I interpret David Savard holding guys accountable when Mike Pezzetta, what's Mike Pezzetta doing there in that first period? And Mike back-to-back penalties, and the Montreal Canadiens, 90 seconds into the start of the game in Utah, are down 2 men. It's a 5-on-3 in Utah. Shane Doan's son, right, scored that goal to make it 1-0. And the Canadiens find themselves in a little bit of penalty trouble. And I like the fact that a guy like David Savard and Mike Matheson later, Mike Matheson was upset that he took that penalty, totally redeems himself by scoring a goal to get the Montreal Canadiens back into it. So you have that veteran presence that is holding people, teammates accountable. Doesn't always have to be the coach. Mike Matheson taking the bull by the horns, to speak in a cliche. Lane Hutson had 3 assists, more on him in a second. And Patrik Laine scored his 10th goal of the season and his first at even strength. Yes, Patrik Laine had 9 goals going into the game last night, and all 9 goals had come on the power play. I think more importantly, however, than Patrik Laine's 10th goal of the season and his first at even strength is the fact that we've talked at length about the balance that Martin St. Louis now has. 4 lines rolling, legitimate 4-line talent, right? From the Suzuki line to the Kirby Dach line to the Christian Dvorak line, and then down to the Jake Evans line with Yoel Armia. And now what happens because Emil Heineman is out for a month. More on that in a second. But the best thing about the balance of it all is we go back to October. We go back to training camp. We go back to Kirby Dach coming into this year healthy, ready to go. And there were a couple of things there. One was the fact that a lot of people in the Montreal market cheering for the Montreal Canadiens were very liberal in how much room they were giving Kirby Dach to recover from the injury, which I get. I don't think that's a flawed way to approach a young player on a rebuilding team, right? Like no expectations, very little expectations probably, and then giving him the patient approach to, hey, get right, get your cardio back, get your hockey sense back, all that stuff. And then Patrik Laine comes into the chat, right, in early December. And from that point forward, we can look at Patrik Laine's insertion into the lineup for Martin St. Louis as the TSN turning point of the Montreal Canadiens season. Full stop. And I know Martin St. Louis went back to, I think, the Washington game against Halloween. I look at how the Montreal Canadiens were involved in that wild 7-5 game as Buffalo, personally, as my, the one game, the marker that I look at and say, wow, okay, remember Juraj Slafkovsky manhandling Owen Power, the Canadiens getting involved in like 7 goals, the back and forth, blah, 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 blah. And Montreal, at that point, their longest winning streak of the season was 2, and then December rolled around. Then they won 3 games in a row 3 different times, to the point where you and I are here talking about a team that is 10-1-2 in their last 13 games, and Patrik Laine is a massive reason why. Because the main point, when I relaunched this podcast of mine on YouTube, one of the early videos I did that got some clicks, got some views, it moved the needle a little bit, was my perspective on Kirby Dach. And I'm not here to tell you that I was the only guy to bring this to the table. No. Kirby Dach, for me, was the biggest X factor on this Montreal Canadiens team this season. Full stop, period, end of that sentence. And I explained myself in the video the reasons why. I'll do it quickly here. I believe that if Kirby Dach hit and established himself as a legit number 2 center, a complementary piece, the understudy to Nick Suzuki, I thought the Montreal Canadiens rebuild would be to the moon. It would be expedited, and it would move at a really good pace, and Ken Hughes can move pieces on his chessboard to mix and match because Kirby Dach hit. The other side of that is he doesn't hit, and now the Canadiens are like, oh, we gave this guy a full year, right? And for whatever reason, either he doesn't have it in the space between his ears, or the chemistry is still a work in progress, and on we go about hypothetical reasons why Kirby Dach didn't hit for Ken Hughes and Martin St. Louis. And then you're like, shrug shoulders, now what do we do? Now what do you do? Right? I don't know if Oliver Kapanen, Michael Hayes, or Owen Beck ever project to be a number 2 center in the National Hockey League. Like, legitimately, number 2 center. Not Jake Evans, spot duty. Not Brendan Gallagher, spark plug, goes up, plays up the lineup for a game or 2, a shift or 2. No. I'm talking about a rebuilding team having someone beyond Nick Suzuki that you can throw over the boards and has chemistry, is potent, is creative, has great hockey sense, right? And with Kirby Dach's emergence now, he's on 8 goals this season. And the chemistry that exists now, Alex Newhook looks like a more engaged player, does he not? Patrick Laine hits to hurt. Patrick Laine's all over the place. And so when we look at the Montreal Canadiens here for a second, let's stop and let's look at where the Canadiens are points-wise to a man. There's Nick Suzuki with 43 points after 43 games. He's got 30 assists. Cole Caufield with 42 points after 43 games. Like, I have been waiting my entire life, and I know I'm not alone. People watching, people in the live chat, we are here together. We are in the same position together. Forget about like the COVID year and the North Division and all this stuff. Nick Suzuki, a point a game past the midway point. Cole Caufield with 24 goals, 7th in the National Hockey League with 24 goals. You think this guy's motivated by being snubbed by the Americans at the Four Nations? Like, Chris Kreider's a freezer, he's so cold. Do you know how many Americans have more goals than Cole Caufield? The answer is 1, and that person is Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets. Lane Hutson's on 35 points. But Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki, at more or less a point a game, is 30 years in the making here. Like Vinny Danfus, Alex Kovalev, what are we talking about? Point a game, 40 goals. Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield are right there. I mean, is it possible? Yes, it's very, very possible that the upper echelon, the 2 best players arguably on the Montreal Canadiens at the forward position, are having career years at the right time. Let's get to your comments. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. The live stream the morning after the night that was, where the Montreal Canadiens go out and win a hockey game. They beat Utah 5-3. They were trailing 2-1 after the first period and recovered to outscore the hockey club 4-1 in the final 40 minutes. So let's get to it. John, Lane Hutson for the Calder. I'm going to talk about that in a second. What's up, Manny? Pezzetta only played 350 time on ice. Good for a 13th forward. She should not be there at all. Thank you, Zeph, for that comment. Let's stop there. Let's address Zeph's comment. Emil Heineman got hit by a car Monday in Utah. He's out 3 to 4 weeks. Word on the street is it's speculation. Speculation. He's got a broken wrist. Michael Pezzetta, when the Canadiens come home Saturday and Sunday, they will have called somebody up. Michael Pezzetta is not, I don't believe, is going to play this weekend. I think he's going to play Thursday in Dallas because c'est la vie, unless something happens where they call somebody up for the road trip. That's the way that's going. Your comment coming in. Yeah, I would give Pezzetta one more game, and then let's get going here. Hey, Manny, what's up? Leading at 5-on-5 goals, if I'm not mistaken. Andre, you are not mistaken. Cole Caufield leads the National Hockey League at 5-on-5. I mean, you see all these things here. Patrick Laine scores his first 5-on-5 goal. He's on 10 goals. That, by the way, was also the 400th point of Patrick Laine's career, as the Canadiens get to 10-2-1 over their last 10 games. More comments from you live. For Michael Hayes, it's really hard to tell early, but I think he has the potential to be. We're talking about a number 2 center for the Montreal Canadiens, right? And again, we're talking about an NCAA Division I player. And you're right, we don't know yet. Thana Cha. Thana, what's up, brother? Your thoughts on Corey Proman's evaluation of Lane Hutson. Thank you for that comment, Thana. There it is there. Thana, your thoughts on Corey Proman's evaluation of Lane Hutson. Are we ready to get into this? Because I believe I am ready to get into this, okay? Did you see Corey Proman, who does scouting for The Athletic, did his annual under-23 age players that either play in the National Hockey League or projected to be in the National Hockey League, the top U23 players in the NHL, okay? That's the Corey Proman thing, ranking the top NHL players and prospects under 23. So let's get to it. Macklin Celebrini, San Jose, number 1. Tim Stützle of the Ottawa Senators, number 2. Connor Bedard at number 3. Those are the top 3 elite NHL players under, they must be 22 years or younger as of January 1st, 2025. So those are your top three. Like, I'm not really going to dispute that. Macklin Celebrini, Tim Stützle, Connor Bedard. Okay? So that's your top three. I'm going to leave that alone, and I don't have time to debate that. Now, you ready for this? Let's scroll all the way down. Let's scroll all the way down together. Here we go. Yep, still going. There's Michkov. That's Jake Sanderson. Zev Boyum. That's fun. Lucas Raymond. He's a good player. I don't see Lane Hutson. Oh, there's Adam Fantilli. I know that name. Dylan Gunther. Yeah, I know that name too. Wyatt Johnson. Okay, there's Logan Cooley. Hey, Juraj Slafkovsky at number 4. Where's Lane Hutson? Sam Dickinson. There he is. Oh, Ivan Demidov. How many games has he played in the NHL? Right, he plays in the KHL. Silly me. Oh, there's Owen Power. I saw him. Yeah, he's pretty good. Quentin Byfield. He's excellent. I like him a lot. Berkeley Catton. Okay. Beckett Seneke. All right. Yeah. Geez, where's Lane Hutson? Did Corey Proman forget about Lane Hutson? Oh, there's Shane Wright. Remember that guy with the if looks could kill when they chose Juraj Slafkovsky? He's number 26. Let's see. Let's keep going. Logan Stankoven. This guy went 25 games between goals before he finally scored yesterday. Montreal and Dallas tomorrow night at 8 on TSN 690. Geez, Matthew Nyes, 32, Maple Leafs. Good player for sure. Who? Daniil Butt? I don't know who that is. 34, 35, Will Smith. Keep my wife's name out your mouth. He's 35. Geez, where's Lane Hutson? Nate Danielson. Zane Pareka. Ryan Leonard. Wow, geez, we're through 4 tiers. Where is Lane Bleepin' Hutson? Oh, there he is. There he is. Coming in hot at number 39. Guess what, Corey Proman? You didn't get me. You didn't get me. You're not going to troll the Montreal Canadiens market. Here, look, hook in my mouth and hook me in out of the water into your little silly boat. This, to me, is absolute clickbait. This, for me, is absolutely Corey Proman doing what his editors at The Athletic want him to do. Click on this article because Lane Hutson is preposterously ranked 39th as the best U23 players in the or prospects in the National Hockey League. Skating above average, puck skills above average, hockey sense high end. He got that right. Compete average. This is where Proman loses me. Compete average, okay? What is he talking about? Hutson has high-end poise, touch, and sense with the puck, often walking the blue line using his great edge work to create time to make plays. He sees the ice at a high level and can run an NHL power play. I got to put my notes down. Huh? He can run an NHL power play, he can walk the line and plays with poise at a high end, and his compete is average? What a joke. What a joke. Like, come on. Come on. His compete is average. Du quoi on parle vraiment, mes gars, là? Ça, c'est complètement du niaisage. C'est du niaisage, ça. This is absolute nonsense. Hutson has already had a highly successful start to his NHL career, playing a ton of minutes for Montreal in his rookie season. He's a dynamo with the puck on his stick, but his compete is average. Hutson has high-end poise, touch, sense, puck. I read that already. There's no doubting Hutson's offense. Compete is average. The doubt comes down to his defense. He's a small defenseman with good but not great feet, and he's not very physical. He has so much offense that he could still be a top 4 defenseman. He could still be a top 4. Lane Hutson is a top 2, brother. Top 4 defenseman. Corey Proman is trying to rage everybody in the Montreal market because here's the breaking news. Lane Hutson is a star. Lane Hutson is a bona fide star, and the Montreal Canadiens have him. I'm 46 years old, playboy. You know how many star players that aren't goalies that I've seen in my lifetime watching this team? And I've watched this team my entire life. Or since I was like 7 years old. Like Alex Kovalev, Mike Camilleri got hot in a playoff run. Yaroslav Halak got hot in a playoff run. I saw Michael Ryder have a great rookie season. But Lane Hutson, okay, with his 3 assists last night and primary assists on the Cole Caufield goal and the Kirby Dach goal, Where is Lane Hutson now? Let's talk about where Lane Hutson is at right now together, everybody. How about this? The fewest games to 30 assists for a guy who can't compete. I guess I lied. I guess Corey Proman did get me. Here's the fewest games to 30 assists season by a rookie defenseman in the NHL. Okay? So this was before the game in Utah. In the shootout loss to Dallas, Lane Hutson picked up 1 assist. Going into the game with Utah, right? So Saturday shootout loss to the Stars, Lane Hutson gets an assist. Going into the Utah game last night, Lane Hutson was 1 assist away from reaching 30 this year. If he can get one in the game in Utah, he'll become the 6th fastest player to hit the mark in the fewest games to 30 assists in a rookie season by an NHL defenseman. Guess what? He had 3 assists. Lane Hutson is on pace for more than 60 odd points. I forgot how many points he was up for grabs, and I'll get that information for you in a second. I just want to get that information because I want to say 67, but I'm not sure. 67 points. Lane Hutson's on pace for 67 points. There it is right there. Let me highlight it for you so you can see it yourself. Right there. That's Lane Hutson's projected season. Right there. Okay? About Lane Hutson's year. Lane Hutson is having a season. Projected 6 goals, 61 assists, 67 points. Playing 22-42 a night. Lane Hutson is your rookie of the year. Full stop right now. It's over. Race is over. Stays healthy, hits those numbers, it's over. I understand the season Macklin Celebrini's having, but this is what tips the scales for me. When the Montreal Canadiens finished last season, do we remember how many points they finished with? 76 is the answer. Going into this year, the odds makers in Vegas threw out a projected season point total for Montreal. Over, under, how many? The answer, 76.5 points. They gave the Canadiens half a point bump from their season-ending total last year. Lane Hutson comes in, okay? Lane Hutson enters the chat, as the kids like to say. And what happens next? Boom! The Montreal Canadiens are now 46 points deep after 43 games. They are 3 points out from the number 3 seed in the Atlantic Division. And listen, no disrespect to the San Jose Sharks, okay? No disrespect to San Jose, but there they are at the bottom. 4 points from the bottom with the Chicago Blackhawks. And Macklin Celebrini's having a season. But Lane Hutson, his team, is 2 wins away and some help from other teams from making the playoffs. And he's playing almost 23 minutes a night. He's running the power play and picking up primary assists late in games. That, my friends, is your rookie of the year. So thank you for that question. I really wanted to get into Lane Hutson. I really did, because I was ready. I had my ammunition and I was ready to go. Let's get going with the chat this morning. Saying hello to everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Aces Cafe. Who was the tough guy that was working with Arbor, Struble, and Michael Pezzetta? Okay. Thank you, Ace. So yesterday I had my video with Sean Campbell come out, and I titled it The Secret Hire of the Montreal Canadiens. Because I have footage at practice, in a closed session practice. I have the footage of this former NHL fighter, tough guy, former Montreal Canadien, who is not Chris Knuckles Nyland, who is not George Larac, who is not Steve Bégin. He was brought in to help bring the Canadiens and teach them, A, how to handle yourself if a fight should break out, the tricks of the trade, leverage, positioning, and to help them bring along a little bit more of a nasty, tough boy attitude, okay? And it's not a full-time hire. It's a consultant who's been brought in to work with some guys on the Montreal Canadiens. And so I thought that's a great story. And so I reached out to the player. We spoke. He texted me back and forth. And full disclosure, when the time is right, if he wants to come out and say who he is and talk about it, I will, but I'm not going to leak it right now. So we were texting back and forth over the holidays, and he's like, thanks for, this, that, and the other. And he had told me in the text message that the Montreal Canadiens lack an FU attitude. His words, okay? And again, it's not Knuckles and it's not George Larac. It's not. I promise you. Some guy in the comments here say, yeah, you're an idiot. You're lying. I'm like, I have nothing to gain by lying here. This is a passion project of mine. I'm here to talk Habs with a passionate Canadiens community. So I have nothing to gain by lying, deceiving people. Like, such a illogical way to think through that, in my opinion. But that's his head, not mine. Okay? And so the Montreal Canadiens have made it a point that they felt that they needed to get better at. They didn't want to be pushed around, and they wanted to make sure that, it's hockey. Sometimes being an intimidator is beneficial to your bottom line. So I thought it was obvious to me that the Montreal Canadiens have been playing a lot more physical. Caden Gooley talked about upping his physical play. The game against Vancouver was rough and tumble. I thought the Canadiens did a good job of hitting Washington. Same with Dallas. Dallas is a big boy hockey club, So to me, it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting angle, and I had a little insider information. So that's all that was. But in the here and now, you have my word. It's not Chris Knuckles. It's not George Larac. Who else did I see? It's not Steve Bégin. So it's a point of emphasis that the Montreal Canadiens are always, always, always trying to get better. They're trying to see the angles, the little edges. So more comments coming in. Thank you so much. Here they are. Here's the chat. So you see these names that are highlighted, like Aces Cafe, like Rick Springhetti here. Here's Rick again. Here's Karim. These are all members of the Shaun Starr Show, so that's why their names are highlighted and look different in the live chat than anybody else. And you can join the Shaun Starr Show with perks like early releases. I was texting our members earlier today in a private members-only YouTube chat that we are going to have a members-only get-together and do a little bit of a live stream, just the members of this community, where we can be comfortable, talk about the Habs, talk about whatever's on your mind. So stay tuned for that. There's a link in the description of this video that if you're inclined, it's less than $3 a month. So let's get going. Rick Springhetti has Dickinson higher than upside. Imagine San Jose's reaction to the Habs offered Hutson for Dickinson. Yeah, that's a good one, Rick. San Jose would skip to the phone and scream, yes, you have the party. Thank you, Rick, for that. I appreciate it very much. Lots of comments coming in. Karim, do you think Hughes will use this article to get 8 years, $8 million for Hutson? I love that you brought that up. Richard Jerkov, what's up, Jerk? Probably wind up being a 6th or 7th. He's all head fakes, no substance. Rick Jerkov, you're living up to your name, Jerkov. I know that you're just trolling the audience. I know you don't mean what you're saying. So lots of comments coming in today. But Karim brought up an interesting point. Do you think that Kent Hughes will use this article to get 8 years, $8 million for Lane Hutson? I love the reverse psychology. Listen, Lane, we love you, but here's what the scouts are saying about you. Your compete level's wishy-washy. Maybe you're top 4, so yeah, we're comfortable giving you $8 million a year. All kidding aside, how do you feel? Hit me up in the chat right now. How do you feel about the appetite to have a discussion around Lane Hutson and an extension already? He's played 45 games for the Montreal Canadiens. That is his NHL total. 2 last year, 43 this year. How do you feel about a Lane Hutson extension conversation? Hit me up in the chat, because it's time to start talking about it. He is the real deal. He is a star in the making. I don't care what amateur scouts in The Athletic are saying. Rick Springhetti, the Hutson scouting report leads like it was done in August. Every one of those doubts has been cast aside times 10. That is a great comment. Thank you, Rick. Brad, good show. Thank you. Sitting here making beer, listening. That is awesome. Steph Howard, morning, everyone. I really think we are an O'Reilly away and another vet right-handed defenseman from being a playoff spot. Interesting perspective. Listen, I've said this before. I think, how the Canadiens play competitively is ultimately going to force the hand of Kent Hughes in a good and bad way. And I am of the opinion today that I think the Montreal Canadiens are a good team. Are they a playoff team? Maybe. Maybe. They're definitely good enough to be in the mix, okay? And if you've been listening, watching for a minute, you know I've been consistent. I want this team to play meaningful games. If that leads to a playoff berth, great. If they're playing meaningful games, if you and I are here in late March talking about, they need to win 2 in a row to get into the playoffs, that to me would be a tremendous success. And if they fall short, I will be here to tell you this was a successful season. Look out, here come the Canadiens. But Steph Howard, I don't want to see Montreal go out and get Ryan O'Reilly. I don't want to see them give up in order to get. I kind of buy into the team dynamic. I think the Montreal Canadiens are exceptionally tight. I think they're a very tight team. And I think they want to have success together. And I personally, sitting here talking to you today, I want to see management give this team, this room, every bit of a possibility to go do it themselves. The ultimate I told you hater moment, right? Nobody had the Canadiens in the playoffs this year other than like the most optimistic people. I didn't have them in. Vegas's point total was 76.5. They gave the Canadiens half a point more than the points they ended up with a year ago. So I want meaningful games. If it leads to a playoff spot, okay, I'll take it, obviously. But if it doesn't, that's okay. You know, if they miss by 2 points, that's great. Great season. Look what all these guys did. We just went through it a minute ago, right? We went through it a minute ago together. Look at the point totals that these guys are having this season. Let me put it back up on the screen quickly here if I can. I mean, these point totals are very impressive. You know, with Nick Suzuki 43 points, with Cole Caufield 42 points. This is impressive stuff the Montreal Canadiens are doing. Karim says lock Hutson in now. Price is going to go up if you wait, for sure. For sure. So the salary cap's going up. You got guys coming off the books. It's a slippery slope, man. It's a slippery slope, the National Hockey League. They are a playoff team, says Carrie. Ghislain says it would be difficult to be the last in the playoffs. We need to win games left and right to the end of the season. They shouldn't be chasing 8. Chasing a top 3 position, says Carrie. Going from bottom 5 to top 5 is unlikely. The Bunny Hell says, I don't understand how Columbus is this high in the standings. Dude, Columbus. What a season they're having. Holy cow. I mean, what an unbelievable story this Columbus team is, man. It is awesome to watch, and to see where they are in the standings with the wild card and everything else. Like second wild card, 48 points. They've won 5 in a row. They've won 8 of their last 10. That is, that's beyond impressive if you ask me, for sure, no doubt, right? Lots of comments coming in today. Yeah, just it's fun to watch Lane Hutson, man. It's just fun to watch Lane Hutson. And so now the Montreal Canadiens go on to play at Dallas tomorrow night. I think Mike Pezzetta stays in. And when the Canadiens come home, that's where we're going to see, I think, someone get called up from Laval. Lots of nominees, too. Engstrom's been playing well. Davidson's been playing well. Owen Beck's having a good season. Joshua Ottawa leads them in points. So, yeah, the farm team in Laval has been doing some pretty impressive work. And Montreal by themselves, by the way, impressive in their own right with 10 wins in their last 13 games. By the way, the Dallas Stars moved to 8-1 over their last 9 games. They beat Toronto in a 4-1 final. The Leafs have lost 3 in a row, and they were getting booed by their fans last night in the Big Smoke. So we'll see what type of revenge game the Montreal Canadiens have up their sleeves as it relates to getting back to playing Dallas. Charles this morning, Hutson will become the highest paid player on this team. Just look at the team's puck possession and scoring chances when he's on the ice. He's only going to improve both offensively and defensively. That's another little pickle Ken Hughes is going to have to figure out because of salary structure and what that means, right? Nick Suzuki and slotting everybody in. Does Lane Hutson become the highest paid player on the Montreal Canadiens? That is a fun little experiment to live through. And further to that, as Bunny House in the chat reminds us, Ivan Demidov coming and Lane Hutson on the power play. It's a good time to be a Montreal Canadiens fan. And it's a good time to be a fan of the Shaun Starr Show because as we grow, the Montreal Canadiens grow. And now look at all you guys up in the chat giving me all this stuff, all these great, logical, grounded comments. Even Kerry Williams, we think somebody's Jacques Villeneuve maybe is in the chat today. I'm not so sure. I don't know if 8.5 a year is going to get it done for Lane Hutson, man. Especially like if he if he finishes with all these points, right? Ghislain this morning, we should stop looking at the standings, enjoy the games left in the season. Would it be bad missing the playoffs by 1 point at the end of the season? We started so badly, and Ghislain's right. And I think like we can look at the standings. We as fans, as commentators, people with opinions, we can look at the standings. But I don't want the Montreal Canadiens. Just go out there. The most important game is the one you're playing next. Forget about what the season's going to look like with games 70 through 82. Thank you so much for all your comments. Thank you for watching this live show tomorrow. Make sure you have your notifications turned on the channel, as we'll have some good stuff on Lane Hutson. More on Lane Hutson with me and Sean Campbell tomorrow. So thank you so much for being a part of the live chat today and being here. Just good stuff across the board. We're growing really nicely, and it's all thanks to you guys being active on this channel and watching and engaging, because that's what it's about here. That's why I did this, just to engage with the Montreal Canadiens community. And right now, Karim, I don't have any news on David Reinbacher. There's nothing on the David Reinbacher front, and it's awful. The Reinbacher injury was worse than the Patrick Laine injury, because remember last year Reinbacher's season got derailed too. He's playing on a bad team. He got hurt. And then this season obviously was the season it was. But the positive side of all that, Karim, is the fact that the Montreal Canadiens have kept Reinbacher around. He's involved in meetings. He's involved in video sessions. So just a completely different way of doing business by the Montreal Canadiens front office. And you're starting to see it pay off a little bit. So that's another live edition of this Shaun Starr Show in the morning after the night that was, where the Montreal Canadiens went to Utah after Utah tried to run Emil Heineman over, and the Canadiens ran the hockey club over, winning that game 5-3. On to Dallas tomorrow night on TSN 690. Puck drop just after 8 p.m. So once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this program. It certainly means the world to me, and we will be back tomorrow. Set that notification, and another live show Friday at 11, all right? So thanks so much. We'll catch up again tomorrow. Set that notification button, everybody, because we are live on the Shaun Starr Show. Peace. Oh boy, I think something's wrong with my stream.